we all have our versions of that decision that we know in our heart and soul we need to make, but we're not making it because we are afraid, consciously or unconsciously, of the consequences that it will precipitate. We fear the ego deaths that we will have to die to parts of ourselves in order to bring forward this change. And sometimes we drag our feet through it. It's human. We distract ourselves, we postpone it, we procrastinate, but it's eventually coming up for us. It's going to come for us. And there's also the fear and resistance that naturally comes up whenever change is on the horizon. If this was me like 3 years ago, things would have been much less graceful. I would have fallen on my face a little harder, but thankfully, I like to think that I learned from my lessons and I grow and I expand. But from over a decade of leading myself through change and transformation, leading other people through change and transformation, I'm starting to see the clues as they rise. And I realized that, okay, I'm being asked, God is asking me to make a big change, a big shift in my life. And the hints are getting a little stronger and the lessons are getting a little more painful. And they're going to continue to get more and more painful until I listen.
Welcome to It's Not What You Think, the podcast that takes you on a transformative journey to rewrite your story of greatness and reawaken your soul's purpose. I'm your host, Celine DaCosta, a subconscious mind expert, master coach, and believer in the limitless power and magic that lives within all of us. My intention in this podcast is to propel you into your next level of success so that you are free to create the life that your heart most desires. Through deep, actionable insights, personal stories, and world-class guests, I'll provide you with the tools, strategies, and resources you need to unlock the fullest expression of who you're meant to be in this lifetime so that you can consciously design a reality that is beyond what you could have ever dreamed of. Join me on this journey to personal growth and evolution, and let's live our lives in accordance with our highest soul's calling. This podcast is your weekly check-in to help this path become more simple, obtainable, and fun. Thank you for tuning in today, and now let's dive in.
Hello, familia, and welcome back to It's Not What You Think. I have quite the episode lined up for you today. It is my first time back recording a podcast since I have taken my 3-month sabbatical, which was the last episode that I recorded. And it's pretty wild because it is, at the time of this recording, been almost 4 months since I made that life-altering decision. And it was life-altering. That is the punchline. I want to take you behind the scenes today. It is going to be an intimate conversation. It is a vulnerable conversation, sharing insights that I learned from my sabbatical. And gosh, I'm going to be sharing the key insights today, but I'm going to tell you, there is so much that I learned, and it was such a quantum leap. I don't say that lightly, that I feel like I'm going to be creating content and sharing insights and lessons from this for months to come, if not longer. It has profoundly shifted me as a woman, as a businesswoman, a friend, a lover, all the things. Yeah, I feel like I'm a different woman. So before I walk you through what I learned from taking 3 months of just complete rest off my business, is to tell you why I did this. Now, let me pre-frame this by saying that this was the scariest, riskiest decision that I have taken since 2016, when I did my world travel experiment. Those of you who have been following along know, and if you're curious, this is the first 3 episodes of this podcast, I dive deep into my journey. One of the first waves of awakening, where I decided that I just could not. I was in corporate America, and I realized that I had to change my life because I was dying inside. And so I did this crazy social experiment where I quit my corporate job in America. And with a one-way ticket, I went around and started to travel the world through the power of human connection. So, not using couchsurfing.com, but essentially doing that, but without the website, like meeting people that I would meet on the road, friends of friends. I would just travel the world through human connection, just meeting people, talking to them. I literally just threw myself into the abyss, and I trusted that the universe, God, Mother Nature, whichever name you would like to name that divine force that moves through us, I decided to trust in the divine and trust that I was held and protected. And the consequence of that, which I could have not have predicted in any way, shape, or form, is that on the other side of that insane journey and initiation, I started my dream business, which is the very same business we're going to be talking about today. And I changed my life completely. And this was my journey to freedom. This was my journey towards creating a life that I love, being able to have location flexibility, spend time with the people that I love, and do this so from anywhere in the world while being in service and creating an impact, all that good stuff. And I've shared this in several episodes that, I could sit here and just say that, just say, yes, in the past, almost decade now, I built my dream business and my dream life, and everything was amazing and everything's amazing. And in some ways, it's true. I did create a life intentionally that is absolutely beautiful and incredible. And the path has also not always been smooth, easy. There's been quite a few challenges along the way. There's been quite a few places and spaces where I lost myself, where I steered off track, where I kind of lost touch of the big vision that was originally guiding me. And this past year was one of those moments where I got to the point where I decided I needed to completely step away from my business, not just like a week, not a month. I needed to just unplug completely for 3 months. Why? Well, in the past year and a half, I have been feeling like something's been off. I hadn't quite been able to put my finger on it. Just something felt off. I noticed myself as I was growing my company significantly. These past couple years have been the highest revenue generating, highest, by the book, quote unquote, successful years of my career. And noticing, okay, I was doing more. I was working harder. I had a larger team. There were more things on my plate. And all of it became routine. And there was just a point, how can I best describe it, where I stopped having fun. That's the best way I can articulate it. It got really serious, and it got really big, and it got really dry, to the tune of, okay, I had a team of, at one point it was 8 people. My overhead was large, like anywhere from 30 to 60,000 a month. And so that created a lot of pressure, to perform. It created a lot of pressure to continue to do more. I started building out a digital course business, which in hindsight, I never really asked myself if that's what I wanted to do. I just assumed it was what I was supposed to do because that's what people were doing around me in the industry. And I was defaulting into trends. Yeah, just the basic classic, well, so and so is doing it, so this must be good. Like these leaders in the industry are doing their business this way, so let me follow suit, let me model that. And I kind of just got on autopilot and started to do things because I thought it was the right thing to do. But at some point, I stopped consulting myself and my intuition and really feeling into what it is that I wanted to do and why. And the biggest irony is something I really love about my work is that I am my best client. Like I often find myself moving through situations that I've either led people through or I need to move through them so that I can learn how to lead someone through it. So I'll very often firsthand experience some challenges and then be able to work through them. And then almost immediately after, like people find me to work with me, it's bananas. And then I know how to help them because I've been through it and I have embodied wisdom. And that's been a bit of that. I started to notice there were a lot of industry changes in the last year, and I let myself be carried away with them. I noticed that there was personal burnout going on, just the overworking. I wasn't being really great with my energy management, and my health was taking a toll. Um, I was just feeling really fatigued. My energy was low. Yeah, I was emotionally stressed with the size of my business and how fast everything was moving, and also like the disconnection that I was feeling with all of these spinning plates. Because it's one thing, to have a lot of spinning plates and then feel deeply connected to each one of them and understand the why of why you're spinning each plate. But then when there's a bunch of spinning plates and you're kind of like looking around at them, thinking to yourself, why are all these plates spinning again? I don't get it. But I guess I just have to kind of show up and do this because I sign up for it. So it's like a bit of a oops, how did I do that moment? And I was overall feeling misaligned. I I was just sharing this with a friend today. In my entire decade of doing the work that I do, I've always felt like I was doing my soul's work, my soul's mission. Like I've always felt that the nature of what I do is of my soul essence, is of my purpose. But how I do it is what has been questioned and what I've recently been questioning. What I do is a yes. How I do it has been in the past before the sabbatical. Do I really need to do it like that? Do I really need to do it this way? Or is there another way? And so, you know, this is part of the hero's journey. And I know enough by now to not get super lost in the sauce because I lead people through huge life transformations all the time. And by the nature of doing that, I've become more familiar with the phases of what it actually takes to go through a death rebirth cycle and what it looks like to go through huge life transformations. There's actually a process. I kid you not. There's a process. It's not linear, but there is a bit of a cycle that we go through pretty predictably when we are changing really big things in our life. And thankfully, I was able to recognize, albeit after a year and a half, because I'm stubborn and I needed to be hit in the head with a few things before I could actually open my eyes and look at it. Stubborn me. But there are moments in life, assuming that you are growing and evolving and being an active participant of your life, where there will be things asked of you to improve your life. You will be asked to make significant changes to alter the direction of your life. Ultimately, so you can live a happier life, a more aligned life, a more heart-led life. But the majority of times, they won't be comfortable things. They will be scary things. I'm talking about the big job transition, move across the country or somewhere else in the world. that breakup that you know, that relationship you know that needs to end, but you're kind of dragging your feet through it. That business decision that you know in your heart needs to be made, but it's going to cost you a lot of money or time, energy, or there will be collateral damage. We all have our versions of that decision that we know in our heart and soul we need to make, but we're not making it because we are afraid, consciously or unconsciously, of the consequences that it will precipitate. We fear the ego deaths that we will have to die to parts of ourselves in order to bring forward this change. And sometimes we drag our feet through it. It's human. We distract ourselves, we postpone it, we procrastinate, but it's eventually coming up for us. It's going to come for us. And, there's also the fear and resistance that naturally comes up whenever change is on the horizon. And so, in this particular instant, if this was me like 3 years ago, things would have been much less graceful. I would have fallen on my face a little harder, but thankfully, I like to think that I learned from my lessons and I grow and I expand. But from over a decade of leading myself through change and transformation, leading other people through change and transformation, I'm starting to see the clues as they rise. And I realized that, okay, I'm being asked, God is asking me to make a big change, a big shift in my life. And it's been about a year and a half. When I looked in hindsight, I was like, oh, there's a clue there. There was a hint there. There was another hint. And the hints are getting a little stronger and the lessons are getting a little more painful. And they're going to continue to get more and more painful until I listen. It's what I call the choiceless choice. There's a moment when, spirit is sending us signs like, hey, you need to change. Hey, you need to make this change. Hey, you need to get this change. And it gets louder and louder and louder. And unfortunately, people wait until it gets so bad, like, God forbid, an accident or just like a big, impactful, sometimes traumatic event is what it takes for people to catapult into big change. It's like fear and trauma and something really drastic and crazy. But something that I learned actually through Dr. Joe Dispenza when I was doing my corporate training with him. I'm licensed to teach his work. And in my training with him, like something that he really drilled into our heads is that you don't have to change just because something traumatic and big happened. You can actually choose to change from joy, abundance, expansion. Like you can lead yourself through change. And so when I hit that place where I'm like, wow, I actually think I need to take time off completely. And I had a mentor who was supporting me with this because at first I really resisted it. I mean, I was having all these fears come up like, oh my gosh, wait, if I step away from my business, the whole thing's going to collapse. And I'm not going to have clients and people are going to forget about me. And it's like going to be the worst. I've been building this thing for a decade. Now I'm just going to let it, like, what am I going to do? Get it all? Am I going to fire everybody? Like, what am I going to do? There's so many freaking fears that were coming up. You have no idea. It took me about 6 months just to work through the fears so I could get to a place where emotionally I could give myself permission to step away. It was just so scary. It was this process of me, just resisting and saying, having all these stories come up that I needed to work through until I got to the point where I was able to look at myself in the mirror and like truly honestly say, I'm not running away. This isn't me running away. This isn't me avoiding the problem. This isn't me self-sabotaging. This isn't me, trying to unconsciously hurt myself. This is actually me stepping into leadership through radical self-trust and choosing to have faith. And the same way that almost a decade prior, I chose to quit my job without any backup plan, did not have money in the bank, and just travel the world with a one-way ticket and trust that strangers were like going to let me into their house and that I was going to find my way. If I just did what I loved, if I just followed my heart, I would be led to where I was supposed to be, which is PS, spoiler alert, exactly what happened. But I didn't know that. So I was scared. I was super scared to wade into the unknown. I found myself in a similar position of, wow, I'm literally going to put my business down. Like the only way this is going to work is if I fully put it down. No cheating. Like, we are not cheating here, because it's literally like delete ClickUp, my project management app, get rid of it. Do not check my emails. I deleted all of my social media apps, like off my phone, did not touch social media a single time. And just actually realizing that the only way this is going to work, this big scary thing I'm doing is going to work, if I actually invest in it and go all in. All in. What that meant is putting it down, all of it down. Telling my clients I was going on sabbatical and I was going to be fully unavailable for 3 months, deleting the apps, preparing my team. I had to reduce a lot of their hours, a lot of hard conversations, a lot of scary things that happen. I had to reduce tons of overhead. Had to say no to a lot of things. I had to cut down a lot of things. It was like cleaning house, big freaking time. And I had to put it all down. And I needed to step into this portal butt ass naked, metaphorically speaking. Butt ass naked. Like, nope, nothing about business is coming with me. I'm going in. Just me. Just the way that when I left New York, I had this huge closet and I had like 200 shoes. Don't judge me. I really like shoes. I don't have that many now, but the point is, I had a lot of really nice things. I like my nice things, and I travel the world with a little carry-on and was like a few shorts and a few t-shirts. I felt like I had left and completely stripped myself of my identity. And that's what I did here. And what did I do? I booked myself a jungalow in the middle of the jungle on a farm in Colombia. It was a permaculture farm where I lived in a jungalow. And I'm not kidding you. It was like this little wooden jungalow. I think I'm saying that right. It had 3 walls and a screen was the 4th wall. It was rural. We're talking cold water showers every day. We're talking 3 walls and bats flying into my room every night, bugs, cockroaches, like all the critters you can think of, just constantly needing to finding huge tarantulas and huge spiders. Like, it was scary. And every day my quote unquote job was to exist. It was just to be. That was my practice. I'm going to put down my business completely. And I am going to just exist in nature. That's all. So every day, it's about sleeping, waking up, no alarm, waking up to the sound of little birds and the sounds of the river, which was nearby, and stepping out to have breakfast with the community. And then I would just exist, just reading book, breathing, sitting outside, maybe watching I was watching a course on like womb healing, nothing professionally related. And then having calls with friends. Then I'd have lunch. Then I'd have more time. And I'd just go walk by the river. Or someone would be going on a hike to a waterfall, and I'd do that. And then I'd have a conversation with somebody in the kitchen, and then it'd be dinner time. And then we would go, and there was this really beautiful shala at night, and they would light a fire, and I would sing, bring my instruments, bring my drum and sing, and I would learn songs from people there, and I would teach some of the medicine songs that I know, and then I'd go to bed early, and then I'd sleep, then I'd do it all over again, and I just did that for 2 months, and then I spent the 3rd month also doing that, but more integrated in a city environment, traveling to see my family in Brazil and whatnot. So yeah, I spent 3 months learning how to be and completely stepping out of my business identity, which was really hard to do. Historically, I have been a high achiever. I am a performer. I deeply care about making an impact, about being of service, about around contributing during my time on this earth. And I care about not just doing that, but doing it well. And that, we could go into, of course, there's, traumas, and there's, self-worth pieces that I've had to unpack in the last few years around why I'm a high performer and why I felt like I needed to do more in order to be more. Like there's a whole freaking thing underneath that. As there is, to be honest, with most high performers, it's kind of been, I've had a hard time finding somebody who's a high performer that hasn't been, at least in the past, driven by patterns around needing to find safety, needing to prove their worth, to feel loved, needing to perform in order to feel like they're worthy, avoidance of rejection, wanting to be seen, wanted to be understood, wanted to be, accepted by performing and doing better and more. They're like all flavors of that. It is a very, for the high performing category, it's like a very human experience. And I've personally worked with so many clients who have going through their own stories around that. So I want to make this less about like why I need to high perform and just kind of, let's have this conversation with, yeah, that's part of my history. And what I decided to do about it is to take a leap of faith, step into a void, and allow it to be my practice to be instead of do. And so I want to share 3 lessons that I learned from my sabbatical that have really, really changed me and marked me. And I believe / hope will be altering the way I walk moving forward, because I can already see the way that I'm living my life now, that I'm deeply integrating these lessons, but I'm going to share them out loud for me so I can be accountable, for you so you can learn and take inspiration. Yeah. And here they are. So the first lesson is to love the life I'm in. This one is huge. This one's actually everything. This lesson is life altering for me. And as I mentioned, one of my intentions with taking this sabbatical and just using this time to fully rest and fully be was to meet myself without my business identity. I got to meet myself again without the identities that I was tying myself to. This is a very, again, human experience moment, right? We have personalities, and our personalities are composed of how we think, how we act, and how we feel. And so our personality is this collage of the belief systems that we subscribe to, of how we feel regularly, and the actions that we take because of that. And what I noticed, especially in the last couple of years, is that I had been dedicating so much of my life and energy to my service, aka business, that I didn't have so much time that was available for me to explore myself outside of that, And granted that I've always been someone that I've always made time for my friends and for my relationships that matter. So I've never, actually, I take that back. I have been a workaholic, but I like to think that in the last few years, I've done a pretty decent job in terms of ensuring I had time for multiple important things in my life. And honestly, it was not enough. It was not enough. I find what I was able to see only in hindsight is that I was still pouring more of myself into my business than I needed to. Hello, soul family. I hope you're loving this episode so far. Before we dive back in, I'd love to share with you one of my most popular and beloved free resources on how to stand out and magnetize your dream clients with your irresistible story. Because here's the thing, you have a powerful story inside of you. There's no doubt about that. But the question is,
Are you telling it in a way that empowers you? And not only that, that connects with and compels your audience. Whether you are a business owner or a leader who's in charge of influencing others, this masterclass will propel you in the direction of becoming someone who tells compelling stories that change people's lives, starting with your own. This is the secret sauce to standing out in a crowd of sameness and being seen as a go-to expert. Because here's the truth. If you don't own your story, it will own you. So if you're ready to step into your truth and tell your story unapologetically and confidently without the wobbles, start here. Go to the show notes or type in the link, celinedacosta.com/free masterclass to dive in. Enjoy. And now let's get back into the episode. And, this is a bigger conversation around, especially in today's day and age, how everything is moving so fast, like at hyper speed, that we're moving faster and we're doing more in less time and commuting faster, communicating faster, and doing more activities. And even first with social media and the internet, and then social media, and now with AI, just everything is moving faster and faster and faster and faster. But we as human beings, we are not designed to go this fast. Like, it is not in our biology to move at hyper speeds. We are not robots. And as a high performer, it's like you're like, oh yeah, let's just go faster. Yeah, I can do it. Faster? Yes, I can do it. Faster? Yes. More fast, more fast, more fast. Let's do it. It's always like a yes, 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 yes. It's kind of like at the gym when the trainer says, okay, do 10 reps. And I'm like, I'm going to do 12. Faster, I'm going to do more. And it's tempting. It is super tempting. And I realized I was sacrificing things for the sake of going faster. Even though I was making time, I still had a life, I wasn't working 8 hours a week. I was still working 30-ish hours. That's pretty decent. But my identity was, even though my quote unquote working hours were reasonable, my identity as a businesswoman was on full time. She was online way more than 30 hours, even if I wasn't quote unquote working. It was taking up a lot of space energetically. The room was filled way more with me and my professional identity than it was with the other things that I love, the other parts of me that I am. I had a huge realization, which is that I love my life. I love my life. I love the way I've structured my life and designed it intentionally. I love the woman I've become. I love my friends. I love my things. I love how I feel inside. I love the peace that I've cultivated within the garden, my inner garden. And it's really ironic because I was so distracted by my business and I was so consumed by it towards the last, year, that I actually disconnected from the rest of my life and how much I love it. I mean, look, even just to give you an example, even the fact that I could take 3 months off, completely off, and still take care of my team and still pay all my overhead expenses, albeit reduced, because I have built up, I've been financially savvy enough to have investments and to have a financial infrastructure that could allow me to do that. And that I could still travel the world and I could still feel calm and I could still take care of my health. And I have people that were there to support me, and I have an amazing doctor, and the people were so kind when I went to Colombia. Everything was just, how can I describe this? It was, my life was still incredible. And it was an amazing revelation, because I was kind of scared of putting down the business, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to find underneath this. I don't know if this is going to be good. I don't know if this is going to be okay. What if I put down my business and I found out I'm a freaking hot mess? I was scared of that. I was actually scared of letting go and stepping away from my business and being in complete rest, because I'm like, what if I don't like what's underneath? And I was shocked, because I didn't just like it. I loved it. I loved it. I love
my time freedom. So having so much time, even when I'm more, even now that I'm back to work, just having choice over my schedule, even when I'm working with clients, I can work and live from anywhere in the world at any time. I'm healthy. I'm beautiful. I love my heart. I love my friends. I felt good. I felt really, really, really good. Now, caveat is I was recovering from burnout. So physically, not so good. But in my healing, I felt good. Again, it wasn't perfect. It was not perfect. It's not like, and then everything happened. And then just, I felt super healthy again and exactly the amount of revenue that I want, like magically appeared into my account every month. And nothing went wrong in my business, like while I was gone. Like, it's not like that, but it's like I was okay. And I discovered that I had unconsciously built in my life something really sustainable. I have been intentionally, brick by brick, been building myself up and building my life up in a way that is aligned. But I was just so disconnected from what I was doing that I didn't even notice it. And when I even took the income away, and again, my business was generating income while I was gone from like the funnels and some passive products that I had set up, but nothing like too crazy compared to, when I'm on. And this was really hard on my ego. I was really hard on myself. I'm like, oh my God, did I fail? Did I just like build something and then I failed and I crashed it? Again, so many freaking stories. But then when I worked through the stories and processed them, I realized that I came to this place within myself where I realized that my worth was not tied to revenue or metrics. Like when I was doing nothing all day, I was just resting, I was just existing and being, I was like, life is still good. I still feel good. It was like this really weird place of like, whoa, I am not generating revenue right now. I'm actually pulling it from my investment account. And I don't have to deliver anything. I'm just kind of chilling. Uh, oh, I'm still lovable. Would you look at that? I I feel good inside. Still. I'm okay. Oh my gosh, I'm intact. Like what's going on? And that's when I realized that the work works. Like actually it works. All these years of building up my self-worth, building up love for myself, like freaking being in the ringer, all the tears that I shed, all the grief that I've processed, all the anger that I've angered, all the times where I did something not so cool and then I caught myself and then I worked through it and then I looked at the pattern and then I turned it over and I processed it, and all the stories that I rewrote. This stuff works. And so I found this incredible freedom in stripping away all artificial constructs. I found freedom in stripping away my business identity and all the metrics that comes with it and all the quote unquote performance, evidence and the achievements, all of it. I just put it down. I put it down and I stepped away from it. And I found that without any of it, I was still okay. I still felt good. I still felt lovable. I still felt that I was worthy. And in this, I discovered that I deeply love who I become. And my life feels complete, even without tying it to business success or external achievements. The incredible network, the freedom, the abundance I've built sustains itself even when I'm not pushing. Oh my goodness gracious. Even when I'm not pushing, it sustained itself. And, just to give you another little example around this, my team, I've built this incredible team. And while I was gone, my social media was pumping. I mean, if you follow me on social media, like you wouldn't even have noticed. Like it was pumping. It was not me. It was my content. Yes, it was my voice. It was my videos like this one that you're watching, but they did it. They had my back. They freaking went for it. And again, my investment account had my back. Obviously, I I nurtured it because I foresaw this, I guess, unconsciously, but my friends had my back, like so deeply supported. So lesson number 1 is love the life I'm in now. And I take this with me because now that I know that it's true, the rumors are true, in the past decade, I actually have built the life that I love. My dream lifestyle exists. It's here now. It's not over there. It's not in some far off future. It's here with me today now. And now that I know that in my body, my practice is less about, oh, and when's the next milestone and when can I do the next thing? Of course, I have heart's desires. Of course, I want to grow and expand and I want to create new things in my life that are bigger and better. And at the same time, and my biggest takeaway is great. I get to create all of these incredible things in my life in the future. And my goodness gracious, I love the life I am in today. There's a renewed sense of gratitude. I can't tell you when I wake up in the morning and I'm returning from dream time and I can hear the little birds chirping outside my window. And I just feel, wow, thank you, God. Thank you for my life. Thank you that I'm in this beautiful location that I've chosen to be in this beautiful home that I've, Airbnb'd. Thank you that I'm healthy, that now I get to go and have a workout in my healthy, strong body, that it's a sunny, beautiful day. The sun is shining. It gets to kiss my skin. And that I have incredible people that are sitting in my WhatsApp, like saying hi to me, and I just need to answer them. And I have an incredible support system and I have an incredible team. It's just such a cool feeling to move from I need to make my dream lifestyle happen to like, no, it's here. It's been here. Can I wake up to it? Hello, wake up. It's been here all along. It's not over there. It's over here. And it took me putting down my business for me to truly see that there was nothing to work harder for. Like, hello, we're here. The eagle has landed. My hard work has paid off. And yeah, as a high achiever, I'm going to be like, yeah, but I want more. Of course, that's okay. I want more. I do. I want more. I want to create more. And let that not take away from the gratitude of all that I have. So just being grounded and rooted in the gratitude of like, yeah, life is awesome now. Like I freaking did it, fam. I freaking did it, fam. Like I've got it. The codes are here. Like I am happy with myself. I love myself. I've built up my self-worth. I've built up my self-respect. I have incredible friends. I have incredible abundance, financial abundance, more than I ever thought I could have in a lifetime. Incredible people around me, an incredible audience. I have channels. You're listening to this. Like I have a voice. I get to share it. People are listening. Like I'm so blessed. And I say this like I really made it. You know what I mean? And yes, I'm going to have shitty days. And yes, I'm going to be challenged. And yes, there's moments where I'm going to be so angry and I'm going to think life sucks. But my baseline is this. And when I divert from this, I come back home here. This is where I come back home to. Love the life I already have. Learn to love the life I have now, and I get to build more for the future. So that's lesson number 1 that I learned from my sabbatical. Taking my business away showed me that without it, I'm still really good and I'm going to be just fine. And I'm still worthy and I'm still lovable and I'm still amazing. It's all good. That means that when I put the business back into my life, it's like, great, that is an amazing cherry on top. How do I want to show up for this in a way that doesn't take away from the rest of my amazing life, but rather complements it? It's just a really deep relationship shift. Now, lesson number 2 is that energy efficiency matters more than time management. I had a huge freaking masterclass on time. I completely reframed my relationship with time. Now, I already knew a lot of what I'm about to say. I knew this already conceptually. I had studied it, I had thought it, I had contemplated it, but I hadn't lived it to the extent which I had to live it in those 3 months because my practice was to literally do nothing. Do you know how freaking hard that is for somebody who's just like only used to doing stuff? I even think about, when I support my clients with stepping away from the overworking and the overdoing. And, through their experience, I see how hard it is for them, for their nervous system to literally stabilize into being calmer and resting is a difficult concept for a lot of high achievers to grasp. Like they know how to perform, but they don't know how to rest. They don't know how to recover, which is such an important part of actually being a high performer, is being able to perform and then rest. That's why in sports, it's like you run the marathon and then you rest. So it's something that I knew and I would do, kind of force myself to do. Like, oh, I got to rest. Let me take the weekend off. Like, let's do it. But I like got it in a different way. When I was in the jungle and had nothing on my calendar and nothing to do, my sense of time changed. I actually felt like a child again because I realized that not all time was created equal. I mean, I could spend 20 minutes reading a book in a hammock and it would feel like hours. And then I would go take a walk and I thought I was gone for 20 minutes. And then like an hour and a half would have gone. I would see the sun go down. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been walking for that long. And I realized that when you're operating in flow state, time just moves differently. And again, I knew this conceptually and I had experienced bites of it in my high performance journey. But being in a position of doing this for 3 months straight and nothing else rewired me to move from linear commoditized time to flow state. And realizing that, yeah, time is relative and it is a man-made construct. What do you know? And that time is used most efficiently when we are operating from flow state. What that means is that me sitting down to answer emails for 20 minutes is not equal to me creating content from my joy in 20 minutes. Me reading a book for 20 minutes is not equal to me, I don't know, doing accounting for something, paying my credit card bills for 20 minutes. It's not the same. One is life-giving. The other is draining. And so when I move through time and I fill my time with life-giving activities, time moves differently and much more pleasantly. And I just create more within the same amount of time. And I thought so many times, you know, through this lesson, I thought so many times about my business and how I needed to be more disciplined with rearranging the way I use my time so that life-giving activities fill most of it. Because, you know, as a business owner, yep, I'm going to have that call with my accountant sometimes, you know, like I can't just not do things that are completely unpleasant. Like I will need to get into the nitty-gritty of some things sometimes. Like that's going to be necessary to have the hard conversation with a team member. Like we can't avoid that. And at the same time, I have found through my own personal observation and supporting people through this is that there's a lot of shoulding. Like people are shoulding all over themselves. Oh, I should build this business. I should do it like this. I should answer this email. I should. And that shit is draining. It is energetically draining. Time is meant to be in service, I believe, to my energy. We all have 24 hours a day, linearly speaking. And if I'm failing, let's say 6 of those hours with work, I could have 6 hours of draining activities that have me feeling heavier, or 6 hours of life-giving activities where I'm operating in flow because I'm in alignment and I love what I'm doing, and it's going to feel completely different. And so it was just different. When I would wake up every day and I would ask myself the question, what do I want to do right now? Oh, I feel like meditating. Great. And I would meditate. And then I would do that. And then I'd want to have breakfast and I'd go have breakfast. And then I would want to be in a conversation with somebody who was really interesting and I'd have that conversation with them. And then I'd go read my book and then I'd go take a walk. And then I'd have another conversation and I would just do what I felt like doing. And guess what? I had time for all of it. Somehow it all fit into my day. My days were rich. They were full of richness. And I would somehow be able to fit the things I wanted to do. And at the same time, there would always be things that I was like, oh, I didn't get to do that today. And it's funny because I could tell myself the story. It's because I don't have time or because I'm too busy, but I didn't have that excuse because I wasn't too busy. I was just being. I used to love that excuse when I had my business identity to latch onto. It's like, I'm too busy. I have client calls and then I have this and I have that. I'm too busy. No, that is getting eliminated from my vocabulary. No, thank you. That is no longer. I'm choosing to relate with time very differently moving forward because I do have time. We all do. I have infinite amounts of time. And how I decide to be within the context of that time is going to make all the difference. And even when I have nothing work related to do, I still have so many things I want to do that I fill my day. And somehow, like I said, you know, I didn't have my business, but I was just doing nothing. And somehow I was still busy doing nothing. Like, how does that work? I was busy doing nothing. I'd be like, oh, shucks, I didn't go on that hike today. Yeah, like I didn't do that because I was doing other things I wanted to do. I'll do it tomorrow. And then a few days would pass. And then finally the day would come when I would do the hike. And I could say it's because I was too busy, but I was too busy doing what? I was too busy following my intuition, doing other things that I was inspired to do. And so it really made me think, like, what if I take this philosophy into business? And that's what I have been doing. Like, what do I want to do? And the way that looks like practically, by the way, is again, nothing new in terms of I was already doing this before, but the way I hold it now has shifted in the sense that I have a day where I do my calls, and then I have a day where I do my other client calls. And then Wednesday through Friday, I have an open schedule, and I do that by design. And I know, like, I feel what needs to be done in the business, but I wake up and I ask myself, what do I feel like doing? Where do I want to go today? And there's this newfound freedom and freshness that I'm bringing into my work of, yeah, I have parameters in terms of there's these projects that I'm passionate about working on. And within the context of those projects, what do I feel like doing right now? Because I am not forcing myself to sit down and work on a task that isn't lighting me up right now. Unless, again, it's like really, really urgent. But I'm not going to do that because if I spend 90 minutes on that task and it's life draining, it is extremely inefficient use of my time. If I spend 90 minutes on what I feel like doing that's lighting me up, that is a very, 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 very good use of my time. And it is very, very productive use of my time, which means I am going to, surprise, perform better. God, this is such a life hack for all high performers out there. How you use your time maximizes the efficiency of what happens within that time. When we operate from flow rather than force, we actually accomplish more. Time becomes fluid when we follow our natural rhythms and inspiration rather than rigid schedules. And working from alignment is more efficient than forcing productivity. What do you know? So important. And so I'm actually redesigning my entire business and workflow and my team's workflow based on this insight. Another practical example of what this looks like is I have started to track my hours that I'm working for the first time in my life. My team has had trackers, but I started to track my own time so that every week I am looking at how many hours I've invested in the business. Of those hours, how many of those hours have I been checking emails? How many of those hours have I been working on creative ventures? And based on my creative ventures, what sales came in? What happened? How did I feel that week as I was working? As I was working that week, did I also go dancing? Did I also spend quality time with my friends? Did I enjoy my life? Was I joyous this week? So the metrics have shifted. And not only that, but when I work now, yeah, I'll sit down, like I said, Wednesday through Friday, when I don't have calls on my calendar, I'll ask myself, what is it that's lighting me up? And then I will sit down, I will put my phone on airplane mode, 90-minute working blocks, listening to my favorite jams, and I will work solely on that task. And I will enter flow state in that task and feel connected, feel my connection to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I'll breathe a little bit right before I press the timer. And I will just drop into my heart, drop into my body, and feel connected to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And as a result, I am getting so much more done. It's insane. It's actually like, even this week, I caught myself doing tasks for like the following week, and then I'm like, why am I working next week's work? I'm already done. Like, I just worked faster. I was able to complete everything I needed to complete very quickly and in flow state. So I'm still in the process of just redesigning how I work to maximize me being in flow state instead of task switching, which kills flow state, or checking my phone while I'm working, or like working when I'm really tired and low energy, or working when I don't feel like working. I'm just reorganizing myself to really be more intentional when I do step into the office, and when I'm complete, unplug, which looks like taking a walk in nature, going out with a friend, eating, just actually taking a break, a real break. So that's been really transformative, because I can see already the way that it's improved my efficiency. And so it's also a productivity hack. Fun, two birds, one stone. Okay. So now, lesson number 3 is my work matters. You know, the last year and a half was hard for me because I started to really doubt myself in the midst of my personal burnout and everything that was going on in the industry, and like just everything that was going, that life was lifing, like all that life was serving me with. There were moments where I kind of fell off track, and rather than seeing the ways that this was working for me and this was supporting me and leading me to it was life asking me to course correct. It was like, hey, pay attention, let's course correct, come back into alignment, please. We need you to do important things in this lifetime, and like, get back in, plug back into that God zone, that like flow state, And I doubted myself. I started to get really fatigued with my work. I was getting really fatigued with the coaching industry and all the stuff that I was seeing happening that I didn't really like. There's just a lot of crap going on, a lot of bullshit. I'm just going to put it that way. I started to get fatigued. I started to doubt myself. I started to doubt my work. I started to doubt just me doing what I do. Like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the point? What's the point of all this noise? Why am I on the internet talking at people all day? Like, what? Like, why? Why am I on this podcast? Why am I talking to you right now? Like, why am I using my time and energy to do this right now? Like, this was the doubts. And when I took time off, there was a few interesting things that happened. Number one, life started to guide me through my own work again. So there's a specific process that I teach my clients when it comes to changing their story from the inside out. And, my work is all around helping people understand what their true North Star truth is. What is their internal truth? How can they translate that into outer expression that creates impact? Now, what that looks like is, someone writing a book that is where they're telling their story and then turning that book into a business model, right? Or somebody who is an influencer or thought leader in their industry creating a TEDx that then turns into sales. It turns into visibility opportunities. So my work is all around what's the true, authentic, raw message that wants to be expressed here, and how do we express it in a way that generates income, like in the real world. And I went into hiding because I wanted to rest. I went into my little cave. And as I went into my little cave, I started to get text messages from past clients. Like one client that was like, oh my God, I finally created that 10K offer and I sold it right away. And I'm moving to Hawaii, and it's always been a dream of mine to move to Hawaii. Like, thank you so much. The work that we did together is working 6 months later. And then I got a voice note from another client that was telling me how, we worked together about a year ago, and her dream, she always wanted to live abroad and move her family to Spain. And now it's actually happening a year later. And all the while, having doubled her income and having more time to spend with her children, like all the things we were used to talk about. And then I had a friend who had gave a session, I had gifted a session to right before, come back to me and be like, hey, I want to work with you. I'm like, I'm on sabbatical. Let's talk when you get back, I had another friend being like, listen, I'm writing a book right now and I really want your help telling my story. And then I had another friend who is growing his visibility right now and he wants to become a really well-known speaker and he wants his help, like telling his story. And all of a sudden, all these people are freaking knocking on my door of my cave and they're like, hey, I need your help. Can you help me tell my story? While I was in my cave resting, the most incredible thing happened. First, I got a text from one of my clients who I had worked with 6 months prior telling me, hey, I finally made that move to Hawaii that I was dreaming up of. And guess what? Remember how we were struggling so hard to raise my high ticket offers, and I just sold my first offer for 10K and now there's another one that's closing and then I got another message from another client who I worked with over a year ago, and she was wanting to move abroad to Spain with her family, and she's like, it's finally happening. In addition to her business having doubled in revenue and having more time to spend with her family, she was finally en route of living that lifelong dream of moving abroad. And then I got another text from a friend of mine who is writing a book. And she's like, hey, I'm really going to need your help to tell my story. I need you in a few months. And then I got another message from another friend who's growing his presence and he wants to speak on more stages. And he's like, can you help me tell my story? And I realized as I was sitting in my cave resting, people were knocking on the door and they were asking for my help. And at first, when I was still kind of in the after wave, in the shock of abandoning my business and leaving and all the stories I was telling myself about how bad that was, I was like, me? You want me to help you? Don't you see I'm on sabbatical? I'm like a burned out little muffin over here, trying to recover myself. Why the freak do you want me to help you? Who do you what? And then, message came in, another message came in. I was like, okay, universe is clearly talking to me. Let's pay attention. And I stopped fighting it and resisting it. And I started to just lean back and watch and listen. In every conversation I was having or people sharing things with me, or I'm like, God, what do you want from me? Tell me. What do you want? Tell me, what do you want? What do you want me to teach? How do you want me to be in service? What is being asked of me right now? Instead of me trying to figure out all by myself and trying to figure out what my mission and purpose in life is, I'm just going to lean back and I'm going to listen. You tell me what it is. And I did that. And it became very, very clear. Your gift is story. This is what you're here to do. This is what you're here to help. It's really funny because it's been like that since day one. Nothing changed. But who I am changed. How I want to do it changed. Who I want to be in it changed. Everything changed and nothing changed. And I realized during this time off that I just love what I do. And not only do I love my work, but my work matters. It matters. People need it. They want it. People want help telling their story, authentically expressing themselves, putting it out there in the world in a way that matters, that creates influence, that creates impact. Yes, that creates income. And I realized that, yeah, I already knew from insight number one that I mattered. I got that. I got there on my own. And then the thing that followed up with that is my work matters. What I do, my contribution to the world matters. My mission and my purpose has a place in this world, and it matters. And people care, and people need it, and it's needed. So when I'm ready, it's a great idea to give it from a life-giving, overflowing place, of course. And so I found myself that after questioning everything, I realized the impact of my work ripples far beyond me in the ways that even while I was away, my past clients were still implementing breakthroughs. They were still messaging me being like, oh my God, I'm still reaping the benefits of our work together. Months later, a year later, my courses were selling without me promoting them. I have a free masterclass on storytelling. It was still getting signups. People were still buying School of Story, which is my signature storytelling course, without any promotion. People were still finding value in my content. They were still messaging me. They were still DMing. They were still saying like, thank you for this. And it renewed my conviction in the transformative power of story work and what I do. Because I was gone and my work still mattered. It was still touching people. It was still impacting them. The aftermaths of my work still mattered. So I found this place within myself of rest, both like literally because I was on sabbatical and I was resting, but it was this like internal rest in like, my mission, my vision, what I carry in my heart of empowering people to tell their most authentic story in a way that impacts, like, it's a freaking big mission and it's important. So whenever I'm ready, whenever I'm done resting, whenever I'm excited and ready to, work on it again, know that it matters. And this renewed meaning in what I do is very energy giving. And it's giving me even in this last month, as I've sat down to work, I am reconnected to my why. I'm reconnected to my mission, my values. And the greatest irony of this is that this is literally what I teach. That's what I'm saying about being the greatest students of my own work and how life continuously initiates me to literally deeper embody that which I teach. Because I have been, for a decade now, I have been teaching entrepreneurs how to reconnect to their biggest why, their vision, and their values. I literally have a trademark, a registered trademark. It's called the Soul Service Blueprint, and a methodology tested and trialed clearly, where I take people through this. And it's funny because I was doubting myself, like, oh, what if it's all BS? What if it's all crap and I made it all up? And then it's like, well, I clearly didn't, because I'm living it and I keep coming back to the same freaking frameworks and being living, breathing proof that they work because I'm doing them. And I have, my subconscious reprogramming method called Rewrite Your Life. And that's literally how I overcame the stories that were keeping me from going on sabbatical, which was the best possible thing I could have done for myself. But I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't worked through the subconscious stories that made me too scared to do it. Hence, student of my own work. So I walked away from that just being like, wowza, this shit works. I'm onto something. Let's keep going. I like this. So that's the third lesson. And all of that being said, there's more lessons, but I'm going to leave it here for now. Because just these three things are revolutionizing how I'm coming back to work. Everything has changed. It's like I came back to a business. It's not like my business drastically changed in terms of team members, operations while I was gone, but I came back and I was like, wow, I'm so proud of the business I've built. I'm so proud of the people inside of the business. I'm so proud of the work that I do. I'm so proud of my clients and students who have created these incredible transformations in their life. I'm so proud. So if I am creating something that I'm super proud of and that is life-giving and that is on mission and on brand, the brand being, this purpose of helping people create their stories, what's next? And for me, it has looked like simplifying. That has been my motto. Simplification, life-giving, energy efficient, high impact. This is how I'm approaching my business going into 2025. Is that I want to make it simple. Nothing too complex, nothing complicated. It's simple. It is here to serve a mission. And in everything that we're doing now, it's about, is this life-giving? How much time are we spending on this? And, practically speaking, it looks like my team and me and my team, we're all tracking our time. And every week I look at a pie chart and I'm like, oh, this is how much percentage of our time is going towards social media. Let me look into social media. Is it generating us results? Not really. What about email? Oh, it is. Okay, let's spend more time there. It's more life-giving and we love it more. Okay. And then it's like, oh, look at how much time we're spending checking emails and checking our team inbox. Okay. Why are we spending so much time doing that? Okay, there's a lot of back and forth going on. How can we improve our systems for higher efficiency? So from a business standpoint, I'm I'm just getting more data driven and not data driven from like a let's go faster, let's do things more, but more data driven in sense of how can we tweak, adjust, and improve how we're showing up in the business and how we feel when we're showing up in the business so that we are moving forward in our projects in a way where we feel good. We as a team, we're feeling good. We're not stressed out. We're not like running on a treadmill. And at the same time, the time that we have and the energy we're putting towards these projects is really high value. It's really gourmet. It's efficient. It's just revolutionizing the way we're working. And I realized that as I track my time, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've worked 25 hours this week. Great, I've done enough. And then I look at my pie chart and I'm like, great, I spent half of my time on creative work. I've moved the needle forward in projects. I don't need to start working on next week's work. Like that can wait for next week because I'm a smart businesswoman. I've built an incredible business. I have a decade of experience underneath me. And I know like what it takes to run a successful business. And today, what I've done this week is enough. And I've worked less hours because I'm being more productive and efficient within those hours. So no, I do not need to add more hours for me to start dipping into next week's workload because this week I've done enough. And then I stop myself because I've done enough that week to move the needle forward for the projects that I have a vision for. And with the rest of my time, I'm going to rest like I've learned how to do in the last 3 months. I'm going to do other things that interest me, like go dancing and have a long brunch with my friends and read my book and do other courses that are not work related and go spend time in nature. There's other things to occupy my time that I'm in love with. And my business is one of those things. I'm in love with my work. That's why I work so much. When we resolve the traumas and the need to perform and all those things I was mentioning in the beginning, like it is also true that I'm also really dedicated and committed to my work because I freaking love it. I love what I do. It's exciting. It's life-giving when I'm doing it in a way that is structured accordingly. How I'm doing it, when it starts going into overworking, overdoing, because of the thought patterns of being not enough, that's when it becomes unpleasant. That's when work becomes not fun. But when I'm structured and when I'm dedicated, I'm focused, when I'm showing up for this activity, when I'm present with it, it becomes fun again. And when I have boundaries and I step away and do other things that give me joy in my life, that also makes it fun. Because now it's like, this is one of the things that I get to do that gives me joy. This is how I get to be of service in the world. And then I clock out and I go do other things I also really like. It's just a different way. And I think the piece that was missing for me is that I didn't really know how to rest. I didn't know it. I did not have that skill set. I was never taught. I've been working since I was 14 years old. I've been overachieving, overperforming since I was a young gal. So no one ever taught me how to rest. I had to teach myself. I had to force myself into it, into the art of doing nothing. As they say in Italian, my Italian people, il dolce far niente, the sweet doing of nothing, is a skill set that had to be learned. And now I like it. Now that I've dipped my feet into it, I'm like, damn, this is pretty good. I need to continue to structure my business so that I can take more 3 months offs because this is cool. I like this, Even when I think about my future and one day when I become a mother, I want to take a freaking 6 months, 1 year off. Like I want to be able to take time off. Why not? without needing it, making a story about it meaning anything about my worth or me falling behind in business. Like that's what I've been working to dissolve within my system. And it's feeling really good now. It's feeling spacious. So I think, like, you know, the way I want to wrap this up is that there's a way for all of it. All of it gets to fit into your life. And I don't have kids myself yet, but I work with a lot of moms. And even when there's children in the mix and work and, you know, spouse and partner, I mean, I have, it is, I'm thinking specifically of a wonderful client that I have, and she was a Fortune 200 corporate executive. And when she came to me, my goodness gracious, she was like 80-hour work weeks, like, and kids and family and other engagements and hobbies. There was so much going on in her schedule, and we were able to cut it back down to 40 hours. And then eventually, you know, she transitioned into having her own business. But the way we were able to massage and Tetris her calendar to like create all this space and time with her, like if she can do it, anyone can do it. And I've helped people again and again to just reorganize the way they relate to time and their calendar and restructure it in a way that they have all this space now to do the other things that they want to do with their life. And, you know, I was doing those things, but I think the missing piece for me that I had to reclaim in my sabbatical is to be connected to it. It was the deeper soul connection of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it was also that deeper, like, hey, I'm putting my business identity down now. I'm going to pick up another identity. I'm going to go put on my dancer identity. And then I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put my bestie identity. Then I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put my lover identity on. Or I'm going to juggle a few of them, but not in a stressful way. And so the piece that I needed to reclaim for myself was, how can I make space for all of it and be connected to all of these different moving parts without feeling resentful, without slipping into the story that I'm too busy, without slipping into the story that I don't have enough time, without giving too much of my energy and handing over my self-worth to one particular identity over the other, but rather understanding that I've built an amazing life and I've built an incredible business that supports so many people. And I'm so proud of everything I've done. And I got to do all of it my way, the way that works for me. And the how is up to me. But what's important is to stay connected to the why it matters to me, and what I'm doing, and why it matters. And reverse engineer the how from that, or allow the how to find me, because the how, you don't even need to know the how. But when the how arrives, you've got to like keep it in check to make sure that it really is in alignment with how you want to do things. So yeah, those are my lessons. And, you know, for those of you listening, if you do have a business and you, like me, are super heart-led and impact-driven, and you really, really, really care about what your mission and what you do, and because of that, like, you're also a high performer, and because of that, you know, you're working hard on things. This is just a reminder. Like, what are you working for? Why are you doing this? It's worth asking the question, like, why? And if your why is dialed in and your what is dialed in, then it's like, okay, let's look at how you're doing it. Because if you're not feeling in flow, if you're not enjoying the process, if you're feeling constricted, if you're feeling like something's really off and you can't quite put your finger onto that, listen to that feeling, like something is off. Your body's telling you something is off because something is off. So it's a matter of finding what that thing is and course correcting so you can get back on track, back into alignment. And, you know, the greatest thing about that is in a culture where we just want to go faster, 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 there's an art to slowing down. And I have found that when you slow down, you can see more, you can feel more, and you're in deeper listening and deeper relationship with everything. And so, ironically, when you slow down, you actually move faster because you do it right the first time around. And you do it from a space of staying in your center instead of disconnecting from yourself. And that matters because disconnecting from yourself and operating from that place is very time and energy consuming. So it is literally more energetically efficient to spend a time to slow down, come back into alignment, and move from that place. I've got to bring it back to the efficiency always, it's one of my kinks. Efficiency. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share with you. And, for those of you who are deeply listening to this and you're like, whoa, this is touching my soul, don't be shy. Reach out. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Celine DaCosta by DMing me the word connect if you're curious about ways to work with me, either privately or in group programs. I do offer private mentorship. I also have some incredible courses like the one I mentioned. School of Story is my storytelling course. It is just a freaking masterpiece. And if you want to learn more, then don't be shy. Reach out, either DM connect to at Celine DaCosta on Instagram, or you can email my team at info@CelineDaCosta.com, and we would be super happy to help you find your way if you're looking to, efficiently transition through this time of your life. And so I'm going to sign off. This is all I had to say for today. And, I sincerely hope that what was in today's episode has touched you, supported you, inspired you, given some guidance and direction in whatever phase you're going on in your life. And remember, at the risk of sounding cheesy, you are so worthy. You are so lovable. You are so amazing. With or without your business, with or without your professional identity, remember that underneath all of the identities is just you. And if you dedicate yourself to meeting that version of you, this is my ask for you. This is my prayer, is meet yourself. Take the time to meet yourself beyond your identities that you've created and find out who you really, really, really are underneath it all. If there's parts of you that you don't like, that's okay. They get to be loved and integrated and accepted. And you get to develop yourself. We get to be who we want to be in this lifetime. We get to craft and refine our personalities, the ego. It's all workable. With our conscious awareness, we get to shed light on all that we are, and we get to integrate the parts of us that we don't love and bring them back into love. Like this journey of knowing ourselves and coming into deeper love, alignment, self-worth, self-respect is just so freaking worthy, because once you build that up for yourself, no one can take it away. No one. It's yours forever. And it will impact and influence everything that you do, including your business. And that was a beautiful reminder that I had in my sabbatical. So I'm super pumped to be back in the office, super pumped to be back on this podcast. I am also in the process of creating an incredible program around communication, heart-led communication, and how to be an authentic leader in today's world. And as always, will be private coaching, because I freaking love it. Freaking love working with incredible people who want their voice to matter in the world in a way that is aligned to their soul's calling. And I be out here building business, and I will continue to update you on how I go. So thank you so much for listening today. And I love you. Have a beautiful one. Bye.
Thank you, beautiful humans, for tuning into today's episode of It's Not What You Think. If you loved what you received today, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, as it helps us reach even more amazing listeners like you. If we aren't already connected on social media, come receive even more tips and inspiration by following me on Instagram at Celine DaCosta, or visiting my website at CelineDaCosta.com. After listening to this episode, I invite you to take a few moments to reflect. What stood out to you? What were your key takeaways or breakthroughs? And if there was one action step you could take from this, what would it be? Thank you again for joining me on this journey. I'm sending you so much love, and I can't wait to connect in the next episode. Until then, keep sharing your unique gifts and living out your most magical life.